Oh, Les Miz. Okay. I'm a huge musical theater fan. I have loved... Les Miz has been my favorite from the beginning. I got the soundtrack as a gift in the 9th grade and listened to it religiously for about 3.5 years. Pretty much my entire high school career. I've seen the play 3 times, twice while it was still on Broadway, once done locally with a professional dinner theater. So when I found out that they were going to be when I found out they were going to be doing a movie, I was ecstatic. I could not wait. Christmas could not come soon enough for me. Me and my husband both liked it. We went out to go see it Christmas Day last night, and I left feeling slightly less enthused than I was when I bought the ticket. Alright, let's talk about the good. It's really nice to see Les Mis on the big screen. Not visually stunning, like a lot of musicals are, but I really don't think people go to Les Mis for the fact that it's stunning. On Broadway, it had virtually no set, and the stage rotated depending on what scene you were in. It's kind of a weird play. People didn't go see it for the scenery. There was no scenery. I think they did a good job with the scenery. I'm a little confused. I'm not sure Valjean was ever in Paris. But that is something else. Okay, the good. Anne Hathaway, probably the best singer. I did not know she could sing. She has got a great set of chops on her. I would like to see her do more musicals. I had a little trouble believing her as Fantine, though, is the problem. I don't know if she just was too pretty, or the fact that Cosette's supposed to look like Fantine, and Cosette looks nothing like Fantine. They don't even look related. So she did a great job as Fantine. Vocal wise, she didn't do a great job of selling, and I think therein lies the problem with the movie adaptation of Les Mis. I think the director, I have no idea who the director is, but I think the director has never directed a musical before, and it shows. He does a lot of dramatic zoom-ins when you're singing, or when the character is singing, and that kind of ruins it. It took me out of the movie. I found myself focusing like somewhere behind the actor. It was very, hold on a second. It was very disconcerting. Not disconcerting. I think wide shots would have worked better for a musical like that. I think he did the best he could, but I think that a different director should have performed this. Also, who thought casting Russell Crowe in a singing part was a great idea? Really? Really? Sure, he kind of looked like Javert. That was alright. If they ever do an adaptation where there's no singing, he could probably play Javert. He looks battle-hardened, and he's definitely old enough, although I think Javert's probably a lot younger than Valjean, and I don't think that's the case with Hugh Jackman and Russell Crowe. I think they're about the same age, which makes it really awkward, because I always thought that Javert was supposed to be maybe in his mid-40s at the end of the play, when Valjean's probably in his 60s. So, little nitpick, doesn't really matter, but who thought that was a good idea? The man can't sing. He cannot carry a tune in a bucket. Javert has got, if people who haven't seen it, Javert has got some great songs. I think the most notably is Stars. And he's actually quite a complex character. It starts off at, his journey starts off as, just following this escaped convict to obsession. And ultimately his untimely demise, because he just can't deal with how bitter he's become and how now the convict is the one that's, when he had the chance to spare him, is the one that spared him instead of killing him when he had every right to. You can't have Les Miz without a very strong, very good Javert, and Russell Crowe just doesn't cut it. Blame the casting director on that one. He looked great for the role. He can't sing. He can't sing. So, the other, how do the other actors stack up? Hugh Jackman, surprisingly good. I'm quite surprised. In the first couple of songs, he seemed like he was still trying to find his acting chops. But apologies for the distractions. We have a new cat, and she's getting all over the place. In the first couple of songs, it sounded like he may not have been able to sell me on Valjean. And I might be a little biased because, like I said, I listened to this, which is the original cast recording from 1987. There is no other Valjean for me than Colm Wilkinson. If you have not heard Colm Wilkinson, listen. This guy is amazing. He will be Valjean forever until he dies. I actually heard that for the 25th anniversary, they had the most recent Valjean and Colm Wilkinson come back out and sing all of their lines together because they couldn't decide on the best one. I gotta buy that DVD. So in the beginning, he kind of wavered a little bit, and I wasn't sure if he was gonna sell it. And by about, I forget the track names, and I'm sorry, but by about What Have I Done, which is like roughly the fourth track into the first act, he had sold me on it, and you know, it was pretty awesome. I think with a little help, he could actually do some more singing roles. He didn't look like, the only problem I had is that while he had a great voice, he didn't quite fit the picture that I've seen of Valjean, except for when he just got out of prison. Then he did. I actually thought he was too young, but I have no idea how old Hugh Jackman is. Overall, he was enjoyable. That was awesome. My major complaint is I think there was a miscast between Marius and Enjolras, and people who don't know who Enjolras is, I don't blame you. He's more in the book than he is in the musical. I think he's got maybe 4 songs in the musical, and I just reached him before I stopped reading Les Misérables, years and years ago, but he's the main student. If you saw it yesterday, he's in the red coat. He's the main student that, you know, wants to start the revolution. I think he should have been cast as Marius. He had an amazing voice. He looked exactly how I've always pictured Marius. And yet they picked this other guy whose name I don't even know, who can't even sing that well. Marius is the romantic lead. He has to have a great singing voice. He has to keep up with Cosette, who's always amazing. I never know who plays Cosette in any of these, but they are always amazing. And look, in this edit, I have tea. So me and Bert did a lot of screaming about Les Mis in the car last night, and I'm a bit hoarse. You'll have to forgive me. Okay, Cosette. I never have any complaint with Cosette ever, because the actress who plays Cosette always does a good job. Always. Since we're on casting, I actually really liked the actress for Eponine. Very rarely can I say that. I know in the original soundtrack, she's the original. She has a really weird voice, and I haven't found an agreeable Eponine since maybe the 15th anniversary with Leah Songala. Leah Songala was also the singing voice for Jasmine, for anybody who's ever seen Aladdin, and now I'm getting sidetracked. The problem I had with Eponine was not how she looked, Although she really didn't make a very convincing boy, they needed to try a little bit harder. Because Marius isn't supposed to recognize that it's Eponine until he's right up next to her. You could see, when they panned the shot for One Day More, you could tell exactly who it was. They didn't get rid of her bangs at all. Like Bert said, she has far too feminine of a face to pull off a convincing boy, and maybe that was the point. I've just seen it done differently. Maybe I'm just nitpicking because I've seen it like 3 times and I get particular. I don't know. Anyway, which reminds me, why did they put On My Own in the first act? What did they do with On My Own? It seemed more devoid of feeling than it's supposed to. First time I heard On My Own, I just cried. What? I don't know what they did with it. It doesn't... I don't know. It didn't feel like it had the same staying power as it normally did. I think Eponine actually was a pretty great singer, but I think that they, especially at the end, right as, spoiler, Valjean dies at the end. If you don't know this, you probably shouldn't go to see Les Miz, because here's a hint. They're all miserable. Anyway, so when Valjean dies at the end, Fantine, the ghost of Fantine, the ghost of Eponine are supposed to come. I don't know why Eponine, because he didn't actually talk to her, but Eponine comes out. Fantine and Eponine come out, and they're supposed to usher him into heaven or whatever. It's really vague in the play. It's pretty much the end, and so like he leaves, and he leaves, and then it's curtain call. So I don't know. Anyway, this time they kept Fantine, which is great, but they took out Eponine, and that's terrible because they have a very good, they have a great harmonization part. And then, like, instead of Eponine, they had, like, the guy he stole candlesticks from? Why is he there? He did nothing. He didn't even further the plot. He's like, here, take my candlesticks and go make yourself a better life. Why is he there at the end? I thought it was supposed to be God or something. Which reminds me, since I'm on the topic of what the hell did they do with some of this music, the scene where Javert commits suicide sounded like they superimposed Russell Crowe's awful singing with a thriller or action movie score. The orchestra was frantic. I have no idea what they were doing. That is not what they were supposed to sound like. Clearly they deviated from the score. And they were doing so well, I was really pleased with the orchestra. Now I know the orchestra is professional, and even if they're studio musicians, they've still been doing this, for 20 or 30 years. I know this. I always hold a Broadway orchestra in higher regard than I hold a movie orchestra. Mostly because they have to play this 6 or 7 times a week. Okay. I never thought that the orchestra in Les Mis was particularly easy, but all I noticed in Javert's Suicide, which is the name of the song, by the way, was that the orchestra was horribly misplaced. I just sat there like, what the hell is it doing? Is it trying to push him off the bridge? And I don't know why they added another song. And I'm sorry, my facts aren't coherent at all. I don't know why they added another song right after Valjean buys Cosette back from the Thénardiers. It wasn't that good. Like, it was written by, I think, the person who translated Les Mis into English, because it was originally written in French, but it wasn't that good. New tea for Christmas. It wasn't that good. I have no idea what they were trying to achieve. I just sat there like, is he done yet? Please, is he done yet? And that takes me to my other point. I don't recall Les Mis dragging in the second half as much as it did in the movie. Like, I think, like, right after One Day More, I was just wishing it would end so I could go home. And that may have been the casting direction, and it was also the cinematography. What were the cameramen doing? They had no idea how to film a musical. They added stuff that was kind of unnecessary. It was like they were trying to dumb it down for people. Like, here! You don't understand why the Thenardier's suite is occupied. Why Barda's suite is occupied. So let me beat it down for you with something weird that... Okay, sure. Speaking of which, Sacha I don't know how to say his name. Sacha Baron Cohen and Helena Bonham Carter were wasted as the Thenardiers. They're supposed to be the comic relief. Everything they were in was understated, except for the very end at the wedding scene when they sneak in and pretend they're rich. Except for then. Or maybe they are rich. It's been a while since I've read the lyrics to Les Miz. With the stage direction, and I need to finish the book, but they're supposed to be the comic relief. That's why you would take two funny people and put them in there. Master of the House is supposed to actually be hilarious. I didn't laugh once. The only time I laughed is when the elder Thenardier when he kept mispronouncing Cosette's name. Once again, not even in the play. They had to add something funny that wasn't actually there. Well, maybe the part of calling her Colette was in the actual song. But then the stuff they added later was weird. As far as the order of the songs, I don't care that much. I know they took out a couple of songs. One was when Thenardier was rummaging around in the sewer after the barricade, and Valjean takes Marius with him, and ends up leaving him in the sewer, or he runs off or something. But he's in the sewer by himself, and then Thenardier's rummaging through all these dead students looking for gold that he can sell, and he finds Marius. And honestly, I never liked that song. It was kind of a weak song. I never liked it. So I didn't really miss it. I knew it wasn't there, but I didn't really care that they took that one out. I'm kind of disappointed that they did not do all of empty chairs at empty tables, because that kind of hammers it home. But my major complaint is that there was no interludes. Okay, so if you listen to the soundtrack, or if you've seen it either professionally, well, it would all be professionally done, but if you've seen it on Broadway or off of Broadway, because it's off Broadway now, so lots of places can do it, so, it's getting, lots of people have seen it. Like, my aunt has seen it, and she would have never gone to it when it was on Broadway because she couldn't afford it, which is weird, but anyway, so usually there's these interludes between songs to set the scene, so you don't feel like they're running from one scene to another. And in here, it just seems okay. They took out all of the interludes for some reason, and then mashed all the songs together. So it was like, oh hey, and here's this song. We're not going to tell you how it got here. We're just going to smash it in there and hope you didn't notice. The editing was really weird in this movie. I don't understand why. It had the potential to be so much better than it was. And I should have gone with my gut when I watched the preview of One Day More on the internet last week. I didn't like it. And yeah, I understand that nobody in this movie probably has the chops to do what they need you to do in One Day More. The only thing I did like about One Day More was that they showed Eponine getting ready for the barricade, so she's wrapping herself. I really liked that. That you don't see in the play as much. And so that I kind of liked, but other than that, I got it killed my enthusiasm that. And I feel like I should have just gone with my gut there and not been as excited, because I went yesterday and I was excited. I'm like, let's go, and it started, and they're in a shipyard, and that's not how it's supposed to start, but it doesn't matter because it's a chain gang, and they're in a shipyard, and it's still massive, and there's, water spilling over the side from the ship, and Valjean has to carry the flag for some reason, but I didn't care. It was awesome. And then he ended up in New Zealand, but it was still awesome. And sometime after Fantine died, it just kind of fell flat. And I feel I feel like it's sacrilegious to say this, but I wasn't very happy with the movie. Like, I loved seeing it on the big screen. I did. That was really exciting for me. And it was a hell of a lot better than Phantom of the Opera. Still. Mostly because they still had the songwriters and the, I think they still had, like, the original team that worked on it. So that when they cut songs or when they edited songs, it made sense lyrically, so they didn't just cut, like, apparently Andrew Lloyd Webber, when he did Phantom, was working with them, but not closely enough that they edited the hell out of it, and it feels like a completely different musical, and I bought it because my husband liked it, and I probably never watched that movie again, but he hadn't seen Phantom or, been familiar with it at that time, and it was awesome because there's fire and a lake and there's candles everywhere. And I know he didn't like Les Miz because he felt that the movie wasn't very visually appealing. I'm not really sure what he's asking for. It's supposed to take place in, like, 1850 France. It's gray and dingy and rainy. And I didn't mind that part. It was just, the casting was weird and it didn't keep my attention. And I think overall, I don't know if I'd even go to see it. My friend wants to see it, and I'm not sure that I'd take him because I'd wait until it came back to my state to take him because I think he should see it professionally, or I'll lend him the soundtrack or something because I don't know if I'd recommend this movie highly to non-fans. If you're a fan, go to it. Go to it, by all means. And you might love it, and you might think that I am crazy because I don't like it. And that's fine. It's my opinion. I'm one of the few that probably think they could have done it a lot better than they did. And that's fine. Go to it. If you're a fan of the play, if you've seen it before, or at least you're familiar with the soundtrack, go to it. If you haven't, wait until the play comes to where you live. Because now that it's off Broadway, individual professional theater companies, or semi-professional, or even, it's been at high schools, but it's heavily edited for high school, so don't say high school production. Like colleges, or, so semi-professional, or amateur, or professional, there will still be a tour of Les Mis, it just won't be on the Broadway scale, which is fine. Wait until you go to see that, instead. I think it will be well worth however much you paid for it. I paid $5 to go see this. And I think I would have been disappointed if I paid like a full theater ticket price to go see it because I don't think it was up to par. It's fine for a movie, but I'm not even sure I'm going to buy the movie. I think I'm just going to go to Target like the end of the week and buy the 25th anniversary DVD of it because I think that might be more well worth my money. And if I've deterred you, and you're upset, that's fine. I'm sorry. But, if you still want to see it anyway, that's fine too. I know a lot of people are actually really liking it, and I'm in the minority that doesn't like it that much. So, yeah, go see it if you want. If you're really disappointed that, you're not going to get your money's worth, I don't know if I'd see it. But yeah, and if you like it, you can like it. That's okay. Just wanted to add my 2 cents, and it was too long to put into an entry.